hey, Sean, I made a zine. And there's a few different kinds of people watching this. There's the people who know what zines are and love it, and they're like, oh, awesome, you made a zine, cool. There's people who know what zines are and are rolling their eyes and saying, why did Sean make a zine? There's people who turned off the video already. And then there's people who have no idea what a zine is. A zine, it's short for magazine, and it's just a self-published booklet, and that's the end of the rules about it. It can be any size, any number of pages. It can be typed, handwritten. It can be photocopied. It can be printed. It can be anything that you want it to be. And I could go on for a really long time. I could make like an hour-long video about all the lessons that I learned from making this. But instead, I'm going to keep this as quick as I can and cover 3 things. Number 1, what I learned from doing this and why I think I'm going to do it again. Number 2, how you can get this if you want it. And number 3, why I sincerely think that you should consider making one. And I'll leave you with that at the end. But basically, I was inspired by Van Neistat with he does zines for his Patreon, and he did a zine about how he stores media hard drives. I just got on his Patreon, and I'm on the 3rd zine is where I came into this. I don't know what the first 2 were. They're retired and an incentive to have been there already. But as I started doing this, I started typing it because that's how I work best. I like my computer laying things out. My handwriting isn't great. And so I started typing this book, and I wanted to talk about plays, not points. That's the theme I went on because it seemed like this self-fulfilling prophecy of I wanted to try something, and I don't care. I'm not trying to have some famous published book go out there. Although I started this year with wanting to write a book about business and how I think American creative businesses, and not just American, but around the world, should run. And I started writing this book and outlining it, and then I was like, I don't want to play the book game. I could self-publish it. I could do it. It's not going to be a bestseller. It's an exercise for me to understand it and to share it with people who want to learn from my experience. And so I started like, oh, zines, huh? So I settled on the theme of plays, not points, which I have tattooed on my stomach, my chest over here. And this is a picture on the cover of right after I first took the bandage off when I first got it. But in it, I just sort of walk through a bunch of things that I've done that have, I think by traditional metrics, failed in some ways, and what that means to me and what the bigger lessons are, and just some thoughts. And after I started my computer, I was like, no, I want to tape this. I want to write it with my hands and crayons and whatever brings this to life, and to mess with different formatting. And instead of trying to say like, well, my style is like typed clean and lowercase with periods, that's how everything with Boom is. No, I just wanted to do it. And compared to most of the other projects that I do, this is something that I did all by myself. There is no collaboration for this. And usually when I'm doing projects, films, client work, there's so many people involved, which is a good thing, but it delays projects. And it makes it to where when I'm creating, I'm waiting on other people and things take a long time. And this took me 3 days. I worked for a few hours every night, and I wrote it and I laid it out, and then I scanned it at a FedEx, or I say Kinko's, but it's not Kinko's anymore. And then I sent it to a printer who printed these for like $1 each, give or take. And it's cool. I love that it's done. And you get that rush of like, I completed it. I did something. I have something to show for it. And that's something that is often very elusive for somebody who works in the mediums that I typically work in. And so I'm very proud of it. But the other thing that it made me do different than video is think more slowly. Because as is evident with this video, when I get to create, it's usually where I can just talk. And if an idea pops into my head, I can share it with you and I can chop it out later if I'm editing. I'm like, yeah, you know what? No. But it's a very free-form way that I've grown accustomed to thinking and reflecting. And I've said before, as I create these videos, as I'm talking, I come up with things that I wasn't thinking of before. And it's like a therapeutic part of my creative process. And this doesn't provide that. And having to look at a page, and especially when I'm handwriting stuff, like once I've filled up the space, I've filled up the space, and I can't go on from there, and I can't fit more into there. But it made me be very choosy about what I put into the book and what I don't put into the book and how concise I can be. And I think normally I am very long-winded, but I couldn't be in here. And I didn't want to just like talk and then transcribe my conversation and put it here, my monologue and put it here. And so it made me think differently and curate a lot more, not more thoughtfully, but differently than I typically do with the normal way that I express myself as an artist. So if you want to get this, I don't know, throw something in the comments, or I'll go to my website and I'll put a little box there. And so long as if a ton of people want this, I might ask for like $5 to ship it or something like that, to print it and ship it. But if just a couple people want it, or the first few people anyway, if you can share your address with me, or an address where I can ship this to, I'll put 2 stamps on a little envelope and send it off. But the reason I love this so much, compared to my library of videos that I've created, this is something tangible. This is something you can hold in your hand, that can sit on a shelf, that you can pass to somebody. That my son, I wrote a little note on one and gave it to him. And that was the first one that I pulled out of the box. And then I've written notes on these and given them to other people who've helped me as a creator throughout my career as a creator so far. But the reason I think you should make one is because there are people who would love it. And it's such a lovely exercise in creativity and in being able to complete a project and feel good about something. And what I told to my dad, I'll share with you. My dad is into fly fishing. After he retired, he has been enjoying fly fishing. He's gotten to go on a couple trips here and there, and he's taking a class on how to tie flies better and things like that. And I don't think that he could write a best-selling book on the key to fly fishing and have it be this lovely, long, 200-page illustrated thing. I just don't think he's there yet. But if he could make an 8-page thing with my top 3 favorite tips for flying, some pictures of my favorite fly fishing, some of the fish that I've caught, just a little thing, and not for sharing it with the world, not trying to get famous, not trying to sell copies, but give that to me and his other 2 sons. The 3 of us would treasure something like that. And for my son and my niece and nephew and the generations to come, to be able to say, like, this thing is a thing that your great-grandfather made all about fly fishing, and he loved it. It was a passion he got into after he retired, and here's his little book about it, and it's in his handwriting, and there's mistakes, and you scribble them out, and you write next to it, or you can type stuff and tape it in. And any imperfection in your process, you can leave, because that makes it authentic, and the people who are going to love it will love that part of it. And somebody's not going to pick it up because they're going to say, I want to be a great fly fisher. These things didn't help me at all. What a foolish book. We're not creating stuff for those people. This is for the people that mean something to us and that have been a part of our journey and would cherish something like this regardless of what it said, even if we'll never pick up a fly fishing pole. And whether it's your passion, something like that you want to throw some tips in, whether it's just a summary and some photos of a trip you took, whether you put in a bunch of photos you took of birds at a park, whether it's, I don't know, take whatever idea you have. There are no rules. Fold some pieces of paper in half. That's how this started. I just took printer paper, stapled it, folded it, and started working on it. And then it came to life, and it's a thing that I made, and that's a really cool thing. And you could do one too, and you should do one too. And if you make one and it's at all pushed along, or you were convinced at all because of this video, if this was any part of it, I would love to see it. And so my website, SeanHaughtley.com, or my full name, all lowercase, no spaces.com. I'll put a little thing there, a little form or something. And if you want my zine, if you want to share your zine, whatever you're doing, I'd love to see it, because it's such a cool little thing that more of us should be doing. And in a world where we've got social media feeds that are just full of minutia, to be able to set something aside and say, this was worth writing down and handing to you, versus, did you see what I posted, means a lot more. So make a zine. That's all I got. I'll put a video in the link to the Van Neistat video where he talked about his process. It's a little bit more detailed about the actual how-to, and it's the one that inspired me to make one. And my next one, which is a typed one, a smaller, formatted, thicker, sort of 12 guidelines to like the 12 principles of Boom, of my company, my little world that I've built around myself. So when that's done, I'll make a video about that. And if you want that one, let me know. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. I sincerely, sincerely appreciate it. Have a great day or night or whatever, wherever. See you later. Bye.